In this video, we'll begin talking about the integration of assets. In prior sequence, we exported our motion capture and our keyframe animations. We used our motion capture to drive the character. Now we're going to go ahead and bring in assets that we can use to test our keyframe animations. I'm going back to Content in my content browser. I'm going to create myself a folder and put my name on it. Inside my folder, double-clicking on that, I'm going to right-click in this open field, Import Assets. The first asset that I'm going to load in is the asset created for the blend shapes. And we'll speak specifically about checkpoint, where you need to make sure that this is activated in order to bring in your blend shapes. This rig is the combo rig. It has blend shapes as well as the joint rig in the jaw, and it also has an eye rig. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that import animations is checked. We're going to unpack some options right under the skeleton. Right in here, we're going to import morph targets. That's not on by default, so please go ahead and check that, or you will not see your morph targets in action. This is the first time that I'm integrating this particular skeleton, so we're going to leave skeleton at none and have that auto-generate, and import all. Alright, there are several notes that I need to be aware of here. But most importantly, there are no red crash bugs. Go ahead and close my window for now. And I'm going to double click on my anim node just to check and make sure that all of my animation is on my head here. And I'm seeing the bone rig. And I'm also seeing the blend shapes and the eyes as well. Good. Alright, you see the shaders are continuing to compile. These assets do not have materials and textures on them. Just a simple test for my initial integration. Alright, that said, I'm going to go ahead and drop my asset in my world to continue the testing process. I'm going to go ahead and right-click, add additional animation. This animation will take a look at the anim proxy model with the backflip test on it. Now, this one is calling for the blend shape rig, and I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is click on that and clear, so that it creates a fresh skeletal node for this particular rig. It does have animation on it, so I'm going to make sure that animation is checked. Morph targets are not necessary for this particular animation, and we're going to import all. Alright, a few things to take note of here. Again, we're going to go ahead and double click on the anim file to see if that animation is functioning, and it is. Alright, we're going to go ahead and put that away, set that out here for us to test. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and get another animation. Go go ahead and bring in the walk cycle. That's a translating animation. And so we're going to need to set that up a little differently in Sequencer. I'm also clearing the skeleton for this animation. And I'm going to make sure that Import Animations is checked and import the animation. Alright. Looks like some hand bones are being flagged. So let's go ahead and test our animation. Alright, simple walk cycle there on an animation proxy model. Go ahead and put that in the scene as well. And one more. We'll go ahead and import the hop. Again, clearing and importing the animations. Alright, flag to note, and we're going to finally double click on that anim, and that's the walk cycle, not the hop. Here we go. Okay, a little slow. That gives us an opportunity to speed up the track. Alright, now that we have our animations integrated, we're going to go ahead and begin bringing those into Sequencer. So back to Sequencer tab next to the content browser, and I'm simply going to click on my open field here, right click, actor sequence, and I'm going to bring in the blend shape to start with. And when I do that, notice that I've got the blend shape animation loaded, but it doesn't load the animation with it, it's simply the skeletal node for that track. I also have a transform option here, and I've got an animation here. This is where you go ahead and load the animation associated with that particular skeleton. Animation, and select that, and it'll automatically load that into your track. Now I'm going to go ahead and place a keyframe for that under the transform node. Alright, and of course I can animate that as well. If you select it in the track, it'll highlight it in your viewport here. So then you can go ahead, I'm going to simply translate this over time so that you can see that it can be animated. Alright, moving it and then going ahead and keying. Now if I scrub back and forth, you could see that it is in fact animated. Okay. Now I'm going to continue to bring in actor sequence, backflip in the same way that you have chosen the animation for the blend shape. You're going to go ahead and load this short cycle animation in here also. Now this is a cycle animation. If we play it out, you can see it lands in the same place. So we can simply continue to play this animation by hovering over the side, the right side, Notice the arrow gizmo is changing. Drag that to the end or the location where you want him to stop playing that loop. You can see by a small line here that it is looping. And now if we play that, we could see our character continuing to do the backflip. Alright, let's try the next animation. Alright, you can also go ahead and select your characters in the outliner here and drag and drop those into the open field. It's just another way to get those integrated into your sequencer. I'm going to choose the animation associated with the walk cycle. Notice it dragged or dropped it right where my time slider was, which was at the end and not the beginning. So it's advisable to place your time slider before you bring it in. Now, this is again a little bit different than the other ones that I've shown you so far. This is a walk cycle. However, he should be translating in the scene as well. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this out so it continues to loop. And if I scrub that, you can see he's walking in place. But I don't want that. I actually want him to translate as well. So I'm going to do that through the transform track. At frame 0, I'm going to plug in my first keyframe. I'm going to, by end of my track, and I'm going to translate him across the scene there, and I'm going to place my next keyframe, and now I can see that he's going to be translating while everybody else is doing their thing. Alright. And he's translating a little too quickly because I'm not catching him with my camera the way that I want to. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and drag him back to make sure that he is in fact stopping or caught in the scene there with the cameras. Translating, and he's remaining in the scene. Good. The camera is tracking with him. Alright. Let's see, have I forgotten anybody? The hop. I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop my hop. Let's see, here we go. My big hopper. And you can see that that is now active in my my outliner. I'm going to go ahead and drag him into my sequencer. Select his animation. Okay. And I'm going to offset the playing of that just by dragging and clicking and hold and drag with my left mouse button. That way he stands in place, and I'm going to probably move him back slightly too, just making those adjustments along the way. So I can see him launching, and I can see him landing now. Alright. And I'm not going to be translating this particular character. I'm going to allow him to play his animation and plant his feet. He's not a loop necessarily, although you could probably set that up with an offset. I just want to demonstrate the ability to get your characters in there and functioning. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and play my scene. and saving is a worthwhile thing to do. I'm going to go ahead and save all. And now I'm going to go ahead and play. Alright, as you can see, I've got animations enacted, and I can go ahead and stop that action by simply grabbing my character there so that his details come up in the details panel, and trigger his animation through the cutscene rather than have the animation playing on launch. So we'll go ahead and turn off playing and looping for this particular character, and we're simply going to trigger him inside the cutscene when it's time for that to play out. Alright, let's test it, make sure it's functioning properly now. Yes. Now we're seeing the simulation, and he's standing still rather than playing his animation. Alright, the next step is to trigger the cutscene with the playable character. So in the next video, we will go ahead and set up the trigger box, create the blueprint for that particular trigger box so that we could see the cutscene play when the character breaks the parameter of the box. Thank you for joining me.